So it's Saturday, March 3rd, 2012, and I'm interviewing the artist Poli Marichal, who just completed her print for Serie 19. So could you tell us a little bit about your heritage, background, and artistic training?
Yes, hi, my name is Poli Marichal. I'm an artist with the Serie project. I was born in Puerto Rico, in the south, in a town called Ponce. But I grew up basically in Yauco, which is the town next door, and it's a coffee town. So as a child, I grew up watching how things grew. My grandmother was an incredible planter, and she had her own orchard and loved plants and animals. So I learned a lot from her. And my father was an artist. He was a printmaker, set designer, and illustrator. His name was Carlos Marichal. He was a refugee from the Spanish Civil War. My mother, Flavia Lugo, is an actress, a children's books writer, and retired professor at the University of Puerto Rico. As a child, I grew up surrounded by art, of course, because my mother was acting in the theater. My father would do set designs and meet with other artists and have shows. So all throughout my childhood, that's all I basically saw. Yeah. So I was exposed to art early on, and I was always drawing in my notebooks in school and getting reprimands from the teachers. And I was drawing everywhere I could put my hands on. And I always knew what I wanted to study was art. In that sense, I guess I was fortunate. But I was also attracted to cinema. So when I went to art school, I discovered animation, and I wanted to do moving drawings, so I started doing animated films, and the animated films led to feature filmmaking and more like story themed works, because before I was doing more of abstractions and more oniric films. So I've always managed to be able to do both, like do some film, do some printmaking, painting, mixed media installations, and that's art for me is anything can become a piece of art, and it's just how you interpret materials and how you use them, etc.
So this is your first time printing with the Serie project. How did you decide to do this residency?
Well, I got a letter asking me to send them some images. So I did, and to my surprise, they picked one of the images to be printed, so I was really happy. I had heard about it, about Serie project before, and I had seen the work, so I was really interested.
And so you are already an established printmaker. Has your residency at Serie taught you anything new, and is there anything you will take away from this experience?
You always learn something new. I mean, there's no way you can't. Nothing is set on stone, so every time you do a new piece of work, you learn sometimes even more from your mistakes than from the things that come out like naturally. So in this case, at the Serie project, I had done the separations before, because they told me on the letter that I had to do the separations a month before. And while printing, I realized, maybe I should have done 2 more separations. So you always say, oh, I should have done this. But you learn about color combinations and what works and doesn't work. So the experience was really great, and working with Brian, who is such a good printmaker, was really interesting, and he has so many good stories. So he not only teaches you about printmaking, but he amuses you a lot. You learn a lot from him. So.
And you work in several different mediums: video, prints, and paintings. How have these influenced each other? Does one process inform the other?
Absolutely. In my work, all the techniques I use inform each other, and sometimes I combine them. I'm constantly combining printmaking and painting. I do paintings that have a collage of prints, and vice versa. I have prints that have some painting on it. So yeah, I mean, for me, the process is the most important part of the creative aspect. I mean, because in the process is where you learn. So for me, art is a learning experience. It's how you visualize things, and then how you manage to convey them on some material, some surface. So Yeah, absolutely. Every technique I use they talk to each other, basically.
Who or what would you cite as some of your main influences?
Oh, that's a hard one. I've had so many influences, and at the same time, you have to find your own voice. So I love the work of so many artists. The list is, but particularly I love Francisco Goya. He has been a big influence in my work. Kathy Kollwitz, she's a German printmaker, and I love her work because she was very socially conscious. And in my prints, I've tried to also do things that address contemporary problems. So I feel very motivated by what's happening in the world, in spite of the fact that I also do works that are very oniric, very personal. I also want to address issues in the world, and her work in particular has always motivated me to and Kiki Smith, I love her work. Maya Deren in filmmaking. I mean, there are so many. The list is endless.
So, what's the subject of the print you made with Serie, and how did you choose the image?
The series, the print I made for the series is inspired by other works I've done about trees. I'm a nature lover, and I love trees in particular. And in my work, I've always used the figure of the tree to symbolize our connection to nature, and the fact that trees have roots, but they also have branches. And art, in a way, is like you set your roots, and the creative process is like growing branches. You grow, you become like something more solid. So for me, trees are, and they also symbolize the cosmogony, the cosmic forces that pushes on forward. So for me, the trees are a very strong image.
Do you have any upcoming projects you'd like to tell us about? And where do you see the projection of your work going from here?
Lately, lately since 2004, I started a collective at Self-Help Graphics called Los de Abajo, and we've been working collaboratively on big pieces. And our work is always addressing issues. We did an exhibition about water. Right now we're working on an exhibition about the contemporary economic crisis and how it's affecting everything in the world. And I love the fact that in a collaboration, each artist puts the best of his technique and knowledge to do something that is collaborative. So I'm really interested in pursuing that direction. I'm also working a lot on my personal work, combining encaustic, which is a new medium I've been learning, with printmaking, and also going into three-dimensional printmaking. So those are the new projects I've been working on. And we're going to be doing a residency at Spark in Venice Beach. So we're looking forward to that because we're going to be developing individual works and also collaborative works for an exhibition we're going to be having there.
Okay, well that's the end of the interview.
Okay,
thank you.
So much.
And we're going to miss seeing you around here, hearing all your
really
stories.
Love the experience. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.